All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Rocky Top Insider postgame show. This is Ryan Shumpert. I am Rick Butler. We're standing here on the field as Tennessee falls to #1 Georgia by a score of 38-10. Ryan, I got all the stats right here, but I don't know how many we need to look at today. This was pretty lopsided starting after Jalen Wright's 75-yard touchdown run on the first play.
Yeah, the first play went Tennessee's way, and I can't remember the exact number. The plays that were the rest of the game, somewhere around 125, and just about all of them went in Georgia's favor. I mean, it was a very, very one-sided game, and one that Tennessee really kind of has been the theme in their losses. Once things kind of started going the wrong direction, they didn't have anything they could do to reverse it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of one of my biggest takeaways from the game. We can talk about the X's and O's of what happened here on the field, but I think ultimately this is kind of indicative of the bigger problem that Tennessee's had this season, and that's when things start to go badly, it doesn't really feel like there's an emergency brake to pull, right? It doesn't really feel like there is a great sustained way to get Tennessee back in the game, and I think obviously today, with the way that Georgia's able to go on a run, it's kind of indicative of it.
Yeah, certainly. I don't think this one was maybe as bad as some of the other ones where there weren't a lot of like just terrible plays for Tennessee or things didn't spiral super quickly. I think today was probably more about Georgia just being a lot better than Tennessee. But when it's the fourth game that it's happened,
right?
It's, that doesn't really matter. You don't get the benefit of the doubt on that at this point in the season. So it's a very bad sign. I don't know how much I buy into it being a long-term sign, but I do think it probably says a good bit about the leadership on this team on top of just kind of some of the personnel limitations they have.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. I think that's a great point, and an important point to make. It's the #1 Georgia team in the country for a reason. They are very, very good. They're going to be national championship, probably favorites going into bowl season. But again, this is just a game where Tennessee had a tough time kind of fighting back on some of the mistakes that were happening. Third down is obviously a place that Tennessee did not execute very well on Saturday, both defensively and offensively. To me, that was another kind of takeaway.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And it was a big concern coming into this game because Tennessee was so bad on third downs last week, defensively, I should say. And Georgia's the best third down team in the country, and it's third down offense team in the country, and it's no surprise. They have a really good offensive line that protects Carson Beck, and then they just don't play from behind the sticks that much. Yeah. So they're in a lot of third and manageables, and that was the case. Again, it didn't feel like there were a ton of back-breaking third downs Tennessee gave up. I would say the one, I guess, early in the second half down the sideline, Tennessee had gotten Georgia into second and 18, and then third and 12, a beautiful back shoulder throw. Honestly thought that Nico Slaughter had good coverage. He turned his head. Just a better throw and catch. But I think even expanding that, I think Georgia was 9 of 13 on third downs. The conversions they did not get included on their opening drive of the game, a 3rd and 18 that they got 12 yards, made it a much easier field goal, got into field goal range. That was a stop for Tennessee, not a very good play.
Right.
The first drive of the second half, when wide open receiver on a mesh route drops the first down. So a Georgia mistake. Tennessee didn't do anything. And then on Georgia's last drive, they ran the ball up the middle on 3rd and 12 or something like that. So Tennessee really did not get off the field the whole game. And then on the other side, it would just be us rehashing all the issues Tennessee's had all year. They can't play in 3rd and long. Joe Milton has not been very good. The receivers have not done him any favors. It's a continued chicken and the egg situation on some of these drops that are not very good throws, but need to be caught. It's just mistakes by both sides and they spiral. And to the whole entire point about Tennessee not being able to answer when things go wrong, it just doesn't seem like Joe Milton's putting his receivers in a favorable spot and the receivers aren't doing him any favors. And it just feels like that rotation is just spiraling for this football team.
Yeah, and even against a really good football team, which obviously Georgia is, you're right. There were a couple opportunities, but just some deficiencies on both sides of the ball. And you think about some of the drops that might have happened at crucial times. But certainly a game that Tennessee will learn from, or at least needs to learn from, here in the week before Vanderbilt, the final game of the regular season coming up. Ryan, any other kind of thoughts from this game right here today?
I think you saw, and Josh Alba talked about it, just how big the gap is, between Tennessee and Georgia right now, and how much catching up Tennessee still has to do at the top of the league. And, I think Tennessee's improved its depth over the last few years in the sense that they got guys who can come in and spell for like 10, 20, 25 plays a game, backups, that is. And they're fine in those roles. I think you're seeing as the year progresses and Tennessee has more and more injuries, the depth isn't quality enough that these guys can step up and have to play 50 snaps when players are injured and they're not just to be a big drop-off. I think that's been something we've seen really over the course of the season. That was evident again in this game as Tennessee, had play a walk-on basically the whole entire game in the secondary, or starting both its backups at offensive tackle. That was really obvious, and then obviously no one wants to hear it. Tennessee had so many issues today, but again, came away really impressed with Georgia, came away really impressed with Carson Beck. I think this is, Josh Allen talks about it all the time, the importance of getting better over the course of the season. This is a Georgia team that has very clearly done that. Yep. And they'll be in a great spot to win, like you said earlier, to have a chance to win another national championship because of that.
Yep, no doubt about it. All right, Ryan, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for us here today. We still got to go up, still got more post-game work to do. And there was a lot that went on today, so we will have you covered over on RockyTopInsider.com. Otherwise, final home game of the season, final game of the regular season, coming back up next Saturday, 3:30 p.m. right here back on this field against Vanderbilt.
Yep. In the meantime, Tennessee goes to basketball out in
that's right,
in Hawaii right now.
I saw plenty of tweets about that through the game.
They'll play 3 on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So we'll have plenty of Tennessee basketball coverage of that as Feast Week gets going.
Feast Week.
And crossover season continues.
Love it. Feast Week coming up. Hey, we will have you covered for the game here this weekend. We will have you covered throughout the week. Tennessee basketball, like Ryan was mentioning. By the way, happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. And then, of course, we'll come back and close down the regular season of the college football season with Tennessee's game against Vanderbilt next Saturday afternoon right here in Neyland Stadium. Otherwise, we got more work to do, so we're going to go ahead and get that done. For Ryan Shumpert, I'm Rick Butler. You've been listening to the Rocky Top Insider post-game show. We'll see you back to the next one.